If you've been here before, you've heard me talk about FTS being kind of my gateway drug to the Charlotte kink community. And it's true. What you don't know is tonight is the 1-year anniversary of that night. And from the boots that he loves all the way up, this is the outfit that I wore that night. These pants have got me beat and they've got me laid. Where is she? She's around here somewhere. She knows who she is. I mean, they're good pants. They're good pants. The thing is, so a few weeks before this whole thing happened, I'm sitting in a bar and I'm thinking about life. It's New Year's, you know, reflection, all that shit. I was like, you know what? Maybe I've peaked. I've had great moments. I've had incredible things, incredibly good, incredibly shitty. I've had all this stuff. Like, maybe it's okay to just let it go and be okay with like chilling out for the rest of my life. Yeah, no, that's not what happened. In fact, I came here. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just check this out. I got here. I'm like, I got a little story to tell. And I got up. I told that story, and everything changed. But I almost didn't show up. Like this moment. Like I look around and I see all these people that I know here, and I'm like, I almost knew none of you. Like it almost didn't happen. So we're going to try to get, in under 10 minutes, we're going to try to get through a year of chaotic kink exploration. So if you've heard my other stories, you know that I am a fan of impact, especially on the cross. I love being on a cross almost as much as I love telling a good story about it later. The fun thing that happens for me is that I'll come here, I'll tell a story, and then it'll somehow lead to another scene, which leads to another story. That's the kind of spiral I need in my life, frankly. Like, fuck. It is. All right, so I started out the year kind of checking things out, and I thought, oh, relationships, kink, it can all go together, right? That was a bad idea for me. Not that it's a bad idea for everybody. Some people are great having kink in their relationships. For me, it did not work out. But you know what I did? I jumped right into a DS relationship with somebody like 2 weeks after I was here for my first story. Yeah. And like, I had no idea what she wanted, no idea what I wanted. I didn't even know what fucking DS really was, right? Like, we dated for 3 months. I'm pretty sure we were fucked like 6 months before we met. And it was a shame because we matched up in a lot of places. Like, there were a lot of things that were right on the money. And I'm almost like, maybe too much alike? I don't know. But there are a lot of things, looking back, a lot of good things came from it. A lot of positives I can point to now. One of which was I got to see my first scene on a cross. And that changed me in ways that at that moment, I didn't even understand yet. So I moved on from there. I tried still doing the whole relationship and kink and poly and all that stuff. And it just like, things weren't vibing. And if y'all have been here, you've heard some of the other stories of fun kink scenes that I've had. And so I had great times. I had great fun. I had things that I loved about it, but it wasn't quite there. So I stepped back from the relationships at the end of summer and was just like, let's just figure out kink. Let's just figure out what it is I like about getting hit really hard while I'm chained on a cross. Why does that do a thing for me? And so I started into that. I learned about negotiations and I learned about consent and safe words and all that good stuff and how to communicate with the top, and even like got to a point where I was like, you know, I might let a dude hit me. Which was a big thing for me because I was like, no, like, and honestly, in the last year, I will say I've met more men that I'm like, wow, you're an all right dude. Whoa, there's quality men. What the fuck? Who knew? And that's been here in Charlotte in the last year. So like most of the guys I've met have been pretty quality, and I really, really appreciate that about y'all. So I moved in towards the end of the year with the idea of I'm just going to find people I can play with and enjoy those scenes. And I had some really good scenes. I went to a few different parties. I had a lot of fun. I got beat up. It was great. But the penultimate like top for me was like from Halloween weekend Then the weekend after that, and the weekend after that. 3 weeks in a row were just... Now, if you were here in November, you heard the story about Halloween and the girl who started the lesbian threesome. Yes, that's because of these pants. This same girl said to me at a slosh like 6 months before, God, I love your pants. They'd look better on my floor, though. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time that line was ever used on me rather than by me, and I fucking was there for it, okay? It was great. So I went to this kink party in Salisbury next week after that one, because I'm not going to tell that story again. If you really want to hear it, beg Em to add it to the podcast, and if she does, you're in luck. The next week, I went to Salisbury, had a scene. A friend of mine, service top, tall gal, she's got big arms. She hits pretty hard. It was all right. But I discovered something that I didn't expect, and she'd hit me, and she'd be like, how was that? And I was like, you can hit a little harder. I was okay, I guess. No, I kind of felt that. And she'd be like, this bitch. Like, literally, I heard her say that. The only thing that was as good as her frustration was the laughing that I heard coming from the people behind me. And now, like, I don't typically go for the fun, playful scenes. Like, I have deep, dark places in me that I like to be reached in a impact scene. Like, let's go there. Let's be intense. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're on the line there. Yep. So, but with this one, I don't know. I just felt kind of bratty, I guess. At one point, she's like, huh, you're not saying anything now. And I was like, well, you're finally doing it right. But it gets better. So we had looked at our toys and negotiated those out, and she had this one, and she's dragging it down my back, and she's like, you have no idea what this is. It's the duck. And she's like, fuck. Everybody's laughing. So she has a softball-sized green rubber duck on a stick, like rubber stick, right? And she's getting ready to hit me with it. And right before she does, I'm like, release the Kraken. Yeah. So I can't say that I will never brat on a cross, because I might. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. So now the next week, following Friday, I have this other scene, and this is the one I had been waiting for, because this guy and I, we had talked, we had prepped, we had a nice little warm-up scene. We knew what we were there to do that night. We knew we were going to that level, and I was fucking ready for it. I was ready for it. So we got going, and it was good. He used some floggers, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Canes, I'm like, yes, thank you. And then he got to the paddles. And paddles used to fucking terrify me, all I won't lie. I would just be like, now, if we're going to do an impact scene, you better have paddles in your bag, otherwise get the fuck out. It's a place for me that I heard described as almost yellow. And that is the place that I want to be. I want to go to that extreme. I want to go all the way to that edge. And I want to live there. And I want to see how long I can live in that moment where I want to beg you to stop and also beg you to never stop. And it just, it's so good. So we get to a place where things are going great, and I'm finally like, fuck. And this song comes on. I have a playlist, this impact playlist I love. It was the lesbian version of Take Me to Church. And this man has a paddle made from a Bible. And he knew what time it was. So he went to work with that thing. Later on, I would ask him, we had this conversation. He's like, I've never hit anybody like a full 10 on my scale. And I'm like, well, how did you hit me? He was like, about a 7. I was like, all right, cool. He just, and I got there. I was over that yellow point and into like red. I was like, okay, I'm done. You got me. Red, I'm finished. He takes me into aftercare. We laid down. It was nice. Everything was calm. And I told y'all about Halloween, right? Yeah. Lesbian threesome, all that good stuff. What do you think the odds of some shit like that happening again 2 weeks later would be, right? Because I'm thinking I should have bought a lottery ticket. 95%. Now, what happened is that my ass was hot. Right? Post-impact, that happens. They also happen to have very large ice cubes. A good way to soothe that is a hot chick with a cold ice cube on your ass. Yep. Maybe a little in your pussy. Yep. It's delightful. It only gets better if there's another gorgeous woman next to you, also bent over, making out with you. Well, she gets basically the same thing done to her. So that was my top moment. Like, that was it. The peak of my 2023 year in kink. It was fantastic. From that moment onward, obviously you have the highs, there's the lows. A lot of those people aren't quite in my circle anymore. And that's the thing that you deal with in life, right? You have to find people to do things with. You have to experiment, try things, get out there and figure out what works. Do it safely. Know how to negotiate. Know how to protect yourself. Safe words, people that you can trust. Even if you don't trust them with your whole life, trust them for that night. Find those people that you can trust for that moment so that you can let go and have that absolutely orgasmic experience. You don't have to come, but you can have that moment because you finally let go enough to enjoy it. And you have those people around you. And like I said, a lot of them, they're not really in my circle now. Some are, some aren't. It's okay. It's what happens. But you got to be able to take those downsides with the upsides. That's life. What I will say is in the aftermath of all of that, in the last year, I have found amongst divas and sloshes, witchy groups, all this stuff, I found these people in these groups, in these places, that suddenly, like, they meant a lot to me. And the thing that fucking absolutely astounds me is that actually mean a lot to them. And you find that place and you find those people that you go forward with and they take that trip with you for a little bit longer than a night or 2 nights or a week. They're there for you again and again and again. And it's the best thing ever. And that's kind of what I've loved about my year in kink. Not a whole lot's changed for me from last year to this year, honestly. Still doing my thing, still moving forward. Last year I thought I was done, right? And this year I'm kind of like, I don't know. There's still some more good shit left out there. I'm going to have a scene next weekend. I'm fucking stoked for it. So there you go, guys.